1 hour. Yeah, great. So good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're joining from. Thank you all for choosing to spend your time with us here. I know we are celebrating the International Coaching Week, and as we were discussing, there are many events lined up interesting. And I know, as Jay was mentioning, it's very difficult to choose which one to attend. So thank you for choosing your time to spend with us today to discuss on team coaching. And I would like to start today's session with Henry Ford's quote, right, which is very familiar and known to all of us. He says, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success, right? And what other thing can we be talking about other than team coaching for helping teams to work together for success? ICF says that team coaching is one of the fastest growing disciplines in the coaching profession, and it is becoming increasingly important in organizations. In fact, in the recent times, I was just sharing with Jaya and others here that I see team coaching is being very widely talked about in coaching conferences, in social media posts, and things like that. And I'm sure all of you here also have a lot of questions and would like to know more about team coaching. So questions as simple as what is team coaching? Who is it for? Who benefits from team coaching? How can I become a team coach? Right? So many questions. And today we have a very distinguished panel here wanting to answer all of those questions. And I would like to first introduce Jaya Batija. She is a master certified coach and she's a Forbes Coaches Council member. She's a coach educator. She runs her own coaching institute called Abhyudaya. She has 18 years of experience in human resource management, leadership development, executive coaching. She's a coach mentor, coach supervisor, and a team coach. So Jaya has coached more than 8,000 hours with leaders, executives, entrepreneurs, teams, and students. And Jaya has been the recipient of the ICF Young Leader Award for the year 2019 and ICF Guru Award for the year 2023. The next one I would like to introduce is Sandeep Jain. He is a professionally certified coach from Marshall Goldsmith, and he's a leadership coach and a strategic consultant. He runs his own company, Value Unlock Private Limited, and Sandeep works with CXOs and senior teams on shared agendas around leadership, strategy, and business. Sandeep is also a certified systemic team coach. He's a Forbes Coaches Council member and a Hogan assessor. The third panelist we have today is Sailesh Muravaneni. He comes with 30 years of experience in the IT industry. He's worked in the US and various locations in India for various MNC firms in leadership roles. And Sailesh actually brings his contextual experiential knowledge of leadership, operation excellence, product development, and strategy when he works with teams and stakeholders across the world. Sailesh has transitioned to become a full-time coach, and he's very passionate about helping individuals and teams to grow and reach their full potential. My name is Sudha Krishnan. I'm going to be moderating the session on your behalf. I'm a social entrepreneur with masters in psychology, and I have 34 years of experience in financial services, manufacturing, ITES, and training. I'm an ICF certified PCC coach. I have 1,200 plus hours of practice, and I'm a systemic team coach trained by Sandeep and Jaya in Peter Hawkins and David Clutterberg team coaching models. And I'm also a certified NLP master practitioner. And I facilitate a very unique workshop, which is curated in complete darkness, and it's called Dialogue in the Dark. Yeah, with this introductions done, I would now like to start the session on with the first question, which is on all of our minds. What is team coaching? And I invite Sandeep and Jaya to answer this for us.
Okay, Jaya, you want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Men first.
Okay. Thanks for the privilege. Okay. Yeah, I think simply put, team coaching is when you coach a team as a single entity. And I think that's really the difference. And that's where the crux of team coaching lies, that how do you work with a team to create a singular identity for the team and also to coach them as a single entity. You're not working with individuals who are part of the team. You are working with the team collectively. Yeah, loosely speaking, actually, a set of followers with a leader and a shared purpose is team. And I think how we get them to work together to achieve their collective goals, to hold people, each other accountable, is what team coaching is all about. Yeah.
So I think you summed it well. I mean, when we are coaching, so when we say team coaching, definitely coaching process is coming into the picture. When you're coaching an individual, you're actually raising their self-awareness. Now, when you do that for team, the process and the dynamics changes, right? Because here the individual is the decision maker. When you're talking about the team, multiple systems, complexity, human dynamics, conflict come into picture. So, team coaching is all about how do you raise the awareness of team coaching for organization agenda, and then how do you manage individual dynamics within that? So that's how I'd like to answer that.
So what I hear, Jaya and Sandeep, is at one level, it is very similar to the individual coaching, basically helping teams get clarity, enhancing their awareness, and helping them stay accountable for their action plans so that they're aligned on their larger goals and they work towards success. But another level, because it's not just one individual, it's a group of individuals who's part of a team, the complexity increases. And hence the competencies and probably the way which we work is going to be large more complex.
Yeah, absolutely. And in team coaching, we don't coach individuals, we coach their relationships. And that's important to understand, that I'm not going and coaching 10 people separately. I'm actually coaching their relationship to raise their awareness. So, and that brings the complexity.
Yeah. I have a request for all the participants. It would be really nice that if you can switch your video cameras unless and until you have a challenge, so that we know that we are talking to people and just not some black boxes. Yeah, thank you so much, Shanti. Abhishek, I see people switching on. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
So I think when we talk about team coaching, the first question that also comes to people's mind, as Jaya, you already mentioned about it, right? How it is different from individual coaching or group coaching that we know of? And Sailesh, Sandeep, would you like to add your views to that? Yeah.
So I think one-on-one coaching, most of us are very familiar. So as a coach, we work with the coachee and ask them what's on their mind today. We find out the significance, importance, and then we work with them to create more awareness and try to find some actions on that. And group coaching is when you are coaching a group of individuals, not necessarily a team. And I'll describe what a team is in a minute. So you get a group of individuals together, and everybody has still their independent goals. However, you are running the sessions together in the interest of learning together, addressing the issues together. And as a group coach, you may still do a hybrid model where you do group coaching and some one-on-one calls in the interim. So group coaching is essentially coaching a group of individuals still addressing their individual needs. And this is getting very, very popular in the industry because of maybe constraints around finance, budget, etc. And like Jaya and Sandeep said, team coaching is we coach the team together. And team is a group of individuals, mostly working for a team leader or a supervisor or a manager. And they have a unique purpose. And they are all dependent on each other. And they work together in a connected fashion. So that is what it is about. the me in one-on-one coaching is replaced with the we in team coaching. So that's the difference at a high level between one-on-one group coaching and team coaching. Sandeep, you want to add anything else?
Yeah. No, I think I like your me versus the we. I think it sums it up very nicely. You know, in individual coaching and group coaching both, we are helping the individuals explore their best potential, let's say, become better versions of themselves. In the team, we are going to explore, basically, we are helping the team collectively build the culture, capability, and clarity among themselves that they would like to build as a team. And I think that is where this engagement becomes more challenging, because you are working with the entire team. And, you know, as Jaya was saying, there are interrelationships, there are dynamics. With every additional member of the team, the complexity of the engagement keeps increasing exponentially. So that is something which we have to be aware when we are engaging as a team, because we are not going to get an opportunity to work with individuals in a team. We are going to work collectively with the team together.
And a simple way to understand is when you're coaching an individual, the agenda belongs to individual. When you're coaching a group or a team, the agenda is organization's agenda. And then how do you bring everybody together on the same platform, mindset, conflict, politics, all that comes into the picture then.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
And
a simple way to understand. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. No, please. Sorry, Jaya. I was
Yeah,
interrupting.
and a simple way to understand team is, let's say, a finance team, 5 people or 6 people in a finance team, that's a team. But the heads of other departments like HR, finance, technology coming together becomes a group. So that's a group coaching, and here is a team coaching. So dynamics are different, basically. Little different, process remains the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some interesting questions coming on the chat. So should I be reading that out? I think it's very connected to what we are talking.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I think Shanti is checking, how different is it to coach a team with a leader and a cross-functional team that comes together on a project basis where there might be no leader?
Interesting question. Who would like to pick?
I can take that actually. So there are multiple differences. One difference would be that, you know, when you are engaging with a team which has come together as part of a project, it's possibly going to be a more short-term kind of engagement. And that's where, you know, the agile coaches and that kind of, work starts coming in place. Essentially, if you look at it at, the most accepted definition of the team is that there is a leader, there is a set of followers, and then there is a shared purpose. So the kind of work that we do as team coaches, in most of those cases, you will have a leader who will be basically leading. And I think it's a challenge, but it's important that team coach never steps into that role of a leader. And I've had the challenge personally of working with a team where, for reasons of organizational dynamics, they did not have a leader. And I must say that the complexity of that engagement was very different, was much more than probably where you would work with a team where you have a leader.
Can
So
you
what you're
point out
saying,
some complexities too? What complexities did you engage with?
So I think obviously one is that everybody is wanting to create a space for themselves when there is no leader, and it is difficult to hold. Then, somebody has to moderate those discussions. And if you as a team coach get into the shoes of a leader, I think then you are being very unfair to your role as a team coach. So the conflict that arises in you wanting to take ownership, which is not desired, is what makes it very complex to my mind.
And to add to that, the whole role of group coaching, team coaching, whichever one, is to first create a common platform. If you're a team, talk about common goals. If you're a group, talk about there is a reason you have come together, so there is something common, right? There's a common objective why a group a project team is. So the coach basically use that as an anchor to drive behaviors, not really drive behaviors, raise awareness to be able to do the work of learning. Otherwise, you need a center anchor to be able to start. So why is this team come together? Why is this project happening? What's the larger purpose? What is the, the strengths this group brings it together? So tagging there, creating their identity, and then creating goals is the first step from the process point of view. Similar thing happens for the teams as well, whether it is cross-functional, the process remains the same. Complexity can change based on the environment. And if the teams are, multi-location, that adds to complexity, obviously.
Yeah. So would it be right to say that, when we are saying group coaching, it's like a goal that they have in common, like probably, a group of people who are getting coached to probably develop a skill on assertiveness or leadership skills or some communication, something like that. But whereas in team coaching, it's a shared goal. And then the key difference I'm picking up with what Sailesh, Sandeep, Jaya, you all said is they're also interdependent. But whereas in a group, they need not be interdependent. They can be independent of each other, but they all have a common goal that they are pursuing, and probably they are learning through this group. It can be peer learning. It can be, they learn by reflections. But in a team, it's about they learn about themselves, their ways of working. How do they achieve the shared goal that they have? Is that right?
Yeah, so see, objective is same. Objective is raise awareness, work together towards the goal. The goal changes in group. Basically, we arrange people in a group based on the theme. So let's say an organization is taking 50 people through a group coaching. The way these 50 people will be, put further into groups will be based on some theme. So let's say there is an assessment done and said, this one of the example, the live example was 8 people put into people development theme. Yeah. 8 people put into goal setting theme. Another set of people put into assertive communication theme. Now the commonality are these themes. And then I'm coaching them while everybody has different issues to work upon. I'm coaching them on those themes. And then when we are having conversation, there is more opens up, and then we resolve that through those conversations.
Yeah, another way to, I think, understand this difference is that how would success look like for a group coaching engagement versus a team coaching engagement? For a group coaching engagement, success would be at an individual level. Some people may be seen as successful in terms of gaining, learning, becoming better from that engagement. Some may not be. In team coaching, that doesn't happen. So in team coaching, collectively, the team becomes better, as in, or doesn't become better. Your outcome is measured by, has the team become better at what they are doing? It's not about that the team leaders become better or 1 or 2 players of the team have become better. That's not what it is about. So I think that's in a sense, a very big difference, I would say, especially when you contract.
That's interesting. I have a lot of questions, interesting questions that's coming up on the chat, right? And I would like to pick up some of them here, which is also related to some questions that I would like to ask. Shanti has asked, that this whole thing of team coaching and systemic coaching are interchangeably used in many contexts.
Yeah, so I think I'm answering some of those chats as you guys are talking, and I'm happy to do that as well. I think maybe we'll park this one question, and then I know we have a discussion coming up on systemic team.
Yes.
And we can come back, revisit this question right after that.
Yeah. So I think it's also time for us to probably ask this question, right? What is systemic thinking and what impact does it have on team coaching?
Okay, so I'll maybe start, and Jaya, you can add, your insights. So basically, even when we do one-on-one coaching, we can apply systemic thinking, but normally systemic thinking and systemic coaching is associated with team coaching. But what my learnings have been is that, you are coaching one-on-one with the person in front of you. You invite them to have a chair next to them, and their version of themselves 20 years from now. What does that look like for you? And now let's talk about what is interesting for you. Let's look at your customer sitting there asking you what is important for you. Let's assume that a customer from 20 years from now is sitting there and asking you what's important for you. So we can apply some of these systemic thinking principles for one-on-one coaching as well. So having said that, systemic team coaching is extremely embedded into team coaching processes. Basically, we have a team of 10 people, for example, with a team leader, and we have complexities in the organization. This team may be delivering to a particular, their internal, let's say it's an internal team, IT team or some team delivering internally. They may have a customer in Japan. They may be delivering a service. They will be delivering to Singapore or US or across time zones. So they'll have different bosses. They'll have different agendas. They'll have different goals. And they will have different reporting structures. And to make it more complex, a delivery team may be working with another product team, and together as partners may be delivering some services for other internal customers. So the most important thing is when we evaluate the purpose, we have to understand the internal connections, the partnerships, the customer relationships, the client relationships, the shareholders or the stakeholders, the influencers. And I'm using these terms on purpose because you can define them in any way. How do you come with a common purpose for the team? By talking to every one of them, looking at the internal systems, internal complexities, external complexities, and then create relationships across the board. And this is where systemic team thinking and systemic team coaching is becoming synonymous with team coaching. Jaya, any more insights you want to add?
Yeah, I think I will go back to basics, right? What is a system, first of all? Our wheel of life is our system and beyond. So let's say go back to pandemic, when if the supermart next to my house is closed down and nobody's delivering and my basic needs are not meeting, I can't function, correct? Now, it may be just a supermart for me in this today world, at least in Delhi NCR, we don't have a problem, many options available. Your life will not stop. But it's one part of the system, if gets shaken, can actually impact your productivity, right? Now, any organization, so first of all, system, everybody has a system and a complicated system, like a cobweb. Now, in an organization, everybody has a cobweb. Imagine like that, everybody has a cobweb and all the cobwebs comes together. And so there are business dynamics, there are human dynamics, there are team dynamics, there are individual dynamics, all comes together, right? So systemic thinking really means is, are you thinking about the system also? So systemic thinking is applicable in individual coaching also, team coaching also, and group coaching also. It's a term, it's not a concept. So systemic thinking, how you're thinking about the system. Are you asking people? So there's a simple example. There's a nice video which says there was a burger company studying the sale of burgers in a city, and they noticed that the sale of the burger is not only dependent on the taste of the burger, but also the proximity of the outlet, right? Now that's systemic thinking. It is not only about the product, it's also about where are you selling and what are your delivery methods and things like that. And then similarly, somebody wants to lose a weight and they have access to this burger. How is that connected? So when the person started walking towards the office and stopped having burger, that has an impact on the sales of the burger, at the same time has an impact on the weight of this person. So you see how interconnected life is. So systemic means thinking about the system as well, which is equally applicable in individual coaching than team and system. So it has nothing to do with, it's not an interchangeable word, but we use it because of this. Thank you. That question was important. Okay.
Auntie, does that answer your question? I know. Okay.
Yeah, and maybe
Okay.
I can just add another, just one liner to this. That is that to me, systemic thinking is that how, whether as a team or an individual, how do I impact the system in which I work or live, and how do I get impacted by the system in which I live and work? So both, how do I impact and how do I get impacted, whether it is me or my team? And how does the dynamics within the team can affect that impact? So I think to me, that is really what systemic thinking is all about.
Yeah, like we loosely use the word, right? This person is very toxic or this environment is very toxic. We are talking about the system. We're not talking about individual there. It's the vibe, it's the energy piece. Yes. Sudha.
So, listening to you all, the thought that comes to me is, so the responsibility of a team coach then is not just only to focus on the team, but also probably the system in which it is nested. And then there are many systems this team is nesting in also. So now I understand why Sandeep and Jaya in their initial thing was talking about the complexity of the work when we talk about team coaching. Great. So I think when we are talking about a team coach, another question, I think various forms that's come in the chat and that I would like to also ask you is, what are the competencies required for team coaching?
Okay, who remember that, Sandeep?
I certainly remember the competencies by name, but I think in the context of team coaching, one, I must say I'm very impressed with the work which ICF has done, where they have superimposed the team coaching competencies onto the individual coaching competencies. Having said that, I think looking at it specifically from a team coaching lens, the few competencies which come to my mind, which are very important in team coaching context, active listening, good communication skills, emotional intelligence of the coach. Obviously, powerful questioning is always there. Systemic thinking we've spoken about. I also think that a team coach needs to be a great facilitator. We completely understand facilitation is a very different skill from team coaching, but I personally believe that it's difficult for somebody to be a good team coach without being a good facilitator. And probably the other two is conflict management and dealing with ambiguity. I think dealing with ambiguity is very important in a team coaching engagement because, things keep shifting around because of the systemic impact, but also because of the dynamics within the team. So those to my mind are some of the.
Yeah, and to add to that, sorry, and to add to that, relational intelligence, social intelligence, storytelling. Some of these skills are extremely helpful when you're dealing with multiple people, because it's not always about finding a solution, or a lot of times it's about inspiring, and it's about sharing the right examples, or at times just staying silent at the right moment, right? So how do you understand relational intelligence? How do you understand social intelligence? I have also, let me quote this, I have also noticed a lot of coaches are great at social emotional intelligence, but do not do that good job in social intelligence. Something that we need to start working on, because we are working with systems, we are working with, we are moving out. Individual coaching is no more about self-awareness, right? Because now there are multiple variables. Unless if my client is a corporate, I'm no more talking about life coaching. It's much more beyond that, because the work we are doing is impacting others as well. It's not only about the individual. So we also need to upgrade our definition about individual coaching in today's complex world.
I'm also happy to add, I went through the competencies in a little more detail, and I will not go, 3.1, 3.2, etc. But across the 8 competencies, I can give you a couple of buzzwords or keywords that can be extremely useful. So competency 1 around ethical practice, treating the team as one entity, and understanding and shuffling between coaching and training and facilitation and telling them about it is all part of competency 1. Competency 2 is about understanding the team dynamics, which Sandeep and Jaya spoke about. Competency 3, Ajit, you had a question. ABC, always be contracted. Yeah, in one of the models of Hawkins and even the Sid Clear, C, contract 1, contract 2, contract 3, it goes on, because complexity, systemic, so many variables come in. Everything is going smooth. They get a new customer, something changes. So be prepared to be contracting, very, fluid way. That's on competency 3. Competency 4, trust and safety, create trust. And the most important thing for a team is psychological safety. Competency 5, working with a team coach is essential. It is recommended if your team coaching size, if the size of the team you're coaching is greater than 5 or 6, you go as a dyad. So understanding how you can work in an excellent way with a co-coach is as important as how both of you together will work with the team. Competency 6, understand how to listen to collective team energy is the word I wrote down. Number 7 is about collective awareness. Is about collective awareness. And number 8, the most important thing is at the end of the team coaching, you want the team to collectively own the coaching process. If you have done that, it's a great session.
Yeah, and what is essentially we need to understand is team coaching is not an event. It's a journey of developing the team for sustainability. So if any team coach is working with a team for, let's say, a year or so, the team should have the awareness and the tools to deal with their issue going forward, right? So you're developing people within the context of a team in a way that the dependency on the coach goes down, similar to what we do in individual coaching. We're empowering people with the tools and thinking mindset and processes so that they think on their own. The team thinks on their own together as a team, as an identity, as a common, common entity, so to say. So development is an important word here. Team coaching is a lot about team development. That's why you differentiate team coaching with facilitation, because generally facilitation is very short-term event based and team coaching is more development based. It's more long-term, more deep, takes time to get onto it and show results. It's maturing people basically in the process.
Sailesh, when you were talking about the competencies, right? One thing that struck me is developing trust when you work with individuals is different from how do you develop this trust and the psychological safety when you're working with a team of people.
Yes.
Would you like to throw any light on that? How different is it, or how challenging is it for a team coach? On what are some things that they need to pay attention to from the competency side and also involving the contracting part?
Sure. I think one of the most difficult things in team coaching is, as a coach, when you're going into the engagement, you do not know what is the dynamic within the individuals. Do they trust each other? Teams usually trust each other. Trust is a very interesting word. You trust someone because they're familiar to you. You know them for a long time. You trust someone because you know that they are competent. You trust someone because they will do what they told you they would do. Accountability-based trust, competency-based trust, familiarity-based trust. There is some research and some models, I think Sandeep and Jaya will talk later, around cohesive behaviors, where we talk about vulnerability-based trust. How can a leader come into a team meeting and say, I have no idea what to do. We have a difficult situation. And I want, as a coach, I'm fascinated to see the reaction of the people around. Here's a boss coming and telling, I don't know, I want help. Showing your vulnerability is a fantastic way to build trust and psychological safety. And harmony is good, but I will tell you, conflict is better. And you may think this guy is crazy, but conflict, as long as it is healthy and everybody contributes, everybody is discussing, giving their ideas. The junior most person in the team is telling a big VP saying, I don't like your idea because I have a better way. Getting the team to work as a cohesive unit, with a healthy conflict of ideas is the result of a psychologically safe environment. And that is the number one thing for a rocking team. So it's extremely important, creating that environment, and measuring it upfront will make the coach and the co-coach's job that much easy or difficult or interesting or complex, as you can use whatever your word you want, as part of the coaching journey.
I think I'll just add one point to what Shailesh was saying. I think harmony versus conflict and constructive conflict, really. I think one of the challenges and probably one of the opportunities for team coaches is that how do you break the group think mentality? That, in the teams, typically people start, whoever says the first thing, a lot of people will tend to follow. And especially if it's the leader, more or less, most of the team is going to gravitate towards that position. So how do you help teams break that mode of group thinking so that they become better at considering all sorts of information before they take a decision, rather than just going with the flow? So I think constructive conflict is really something which we work on as we work with team coach, as a team coach with teams.
Yeah, and one very interesting thing that I remember from my training was Peter said, at times we induce conflict for people to come together. And that's necessary. Till the time there is no induce, if there's too much harmony going on, something is not right. So we need to induce conflict for them to start coming together. So it's like destruct to reshape kind of analogy.
Hearing you all say this, it makes me think that, in fact, this whole artificial harmony that teams experience, I think that makes it a strong case for team coaching.
Yeah.
And just to take a practical example, we are like, for example, if in a team coaching engagement, a leader was to put up an idea and everybody was to agree that, okay, let's do this. As a team coach, even if you were to ask a simple question, either to the team at large or to a specific person within the team, why do you think this idea will not work? Why do you think it will fail? I think that is your job as a team coach, to get people to think on a track different than what they are currently thinking on. And, that is the way you induce conflict. And, when Jia said that, that's what I wanted to mention.
So it's like you induce conflict for triggering the collective potential rather
Absolutely.
than, driven by one single leader.
Yeah.
I just put a link in the chat around conflict. There are several beautiful tools out there, frameworks. We're not pitching that this is a good one. It's about Kilman, Thomas Kilman instrument, which is an interesting thing. If you look at the quadrants of that, a lot of times we end up compromising. On one axis, we have cooperativeness, the other axis, we have assertiveness. And we always want to keep the relationship intact and still do a good job of coming up with an idea. That is compromising. In my experience, most of the time people compromise. You don't want to be in that space. You want to be in the space where everybody is cooperating and everybody is assertive. That is when the best ideas will come as a result and the team will reach its purpose.
I know we are almost 40 minutes into the session and there are a lot of questions in the chat. So is it a good time for us to take a look into some of the questions?
Yeah, let's do that. It's important to address them.
Yeah. So Rajesh here asked, given the lack of full knowledge of team dynamics, what is the role of the sponsor or the CEO in hiring coaches for team coaching?
The very first one is to understand that team coach is for development, and it's not a messenger, and it's not somebody they can put in between to solve their team issues. That's the most important one, because a lot of organizations come from that mindset, or CEOs come from that mindset that, hey, let me hire a team coach, that'll resolve all my problems. Doesn't work like that. So that's the first thing, to educate them about the difference, the boundaries of the roles, and what you can do and what you can't do. Sandeep?
Yeah, I think a lot is actually based on the contracting, and the first level of contracting in a team coaching engagement actually happens with the sponsor. I think the dynamics of contracting in a team coaching are very different versus an individual coaching. Because in a team coaching, your sponsor will actually give you a lot of information about what they want to do with the team. Why is it that they are taking a team coach, etc. And as Jia said, as part of that process, you will clarify your role as what you are going to do and what you are not going to do. Having said that, there's also a possibility that if you want, you could also run some kind of diagnostics. There are questionnaires available, there are assessments available. Typically whether you pick up a Hogan or a Lumina or any assessment you pick up, you can also get a team profile. And that could also give you indications on what to work on. Engaging with the sponsor and understanding the deliverables from the sponsor are equally important. But then the second level of contracting happens when you start working with the team. So within the team, you have to contract also and clarify what is the role that you are going to play as far as that engagement is concerned. So there is certainly two levels of contracting happening.
Yeah, and another level of complexity here is, in a way, you are coaching the CEO, making them think, right? Because you're now aware about the dynamics. So rather than coming and advising, which you may have to do at times, you also leveraging your coaching tools to let the CEO think about, hey, why do you think there is so much of conflict going on? What could be the reason? What is your view about it, right? What could be your strengths that can help this team? Kind of conversation. So you're continuously coaching the CEO, maybe consciously, subconsciously, or formal setup or informal setup. All those dynamics play in the team coaching, because you may have to, there will always be some dynamics which a CEO is bringing and he or she is not aware about. So how do you coach them to be part of this whole process rather than saying, I'll take care of your team, you sit in your office? That doesn't work, because certainly there is a role CEO is also playing here.
I know, Sandeep, you had mentioned about this earlier, but there's a specific question here. How do we measure the effectiveness of team coaching?
Yeah, so there are questionnaires available. There are two ways to do it. One is to do a more like a 360-degree kind of an assessment. Now that 360-degree assessment can be taken for the team collectively. For example, you're working with the leadership team. Now you could do a 360-degree assessment for the leadership team collectively. Now that is one possibility. The second possibility is that you run some kind of a psychometric profile of individuals within the team, and you get a collective team report in place. And then that could be a starting point. And the third is that you get a questionnaire to be done by the team members themselves. And that gives you a bit of a starting point that this is what it is. And if you want, you can measure the success or how the engagement is going over a period of time using the same assessment. So yeah, those are some of the ways that you can leverage assessments. I certainly think assessments is a good starting point because you get a lot of pointers from assessments, and that are triggers for some great discussions, conversations, and building on them as part of this engagement.
Also, I just want to add what Sandeep said. When you do some of these diagnostics, you may understand that, okay, for the team to be more effective, maybe they are struggling with some internal customers or some conflict issues, or it could be relationships or something else. And then as a team coach, you ask the team, where do you want us to start? Let them pick a topic that is impacting their day-to-day working and making it ineffective. And then you work through that process. At the end of it, they will tell you whether it worked or not, because who is the owner of the result? Who owns the result of the team coaching? It's the team. You are there as a coach and a co-coach just to help them along the journey. So obviously, getting the 360 view from their stakeholders is extremely important, sponsors, etc. But an honest feedback from the team can be as effective as well.
Yeah, and additionally in team coaching, we do a lot of workshops. Like if it is a year-long engagement, there is every month there's a workshop happening. Build a ritual of reflection, right? Based on the contracting you have done, saying these are the 4 things we are working on. And every time I get into the workshop, I start with the reflection, say, okay, where do you think we are on this? Where do you think we are on trust? How are we doing on, trusting each other? How is our identity evolving? Whatever the goals are, basically. Just keep building a reflection ritual so that you're not talking about the feedback in the end. Reflection itself gives you a lot of feedback. How do you really help people evolve in their thinking, go deeper? Because when you push them to think from a reflection ritual, they start thinking about the reality rather than the perception or all the fog that is accumulating because of somebody said something and things like that. So it brings them to reflection, make them think about the specifics and say, okay, these are 3 things I see changing, and capture that somewhere. Like you do scaling method for individuals. Say, okay, on a scale of trust, when we started, we were on 2, where are we now? Kind of games you can install in your reflection ritual, and that itself is a lot of feedback. That's an ongoing informal feedback that helps the organization, team, and individuals, gives them the opportunity to think about it.
So that, if
So
I
hopefully-
may, there is an interesting question in the chat, and I think while
Yeah.
Shailesh responded to that, which is on, I think, from Rupinder, on complicated versus complex systems in the context of team coaching. The way I look at it, to me, complicated is a matter of capability. So if something is complicated, you need to build the capability to be able to solve it. Complexity is a matter of culture, because in complex systems or complex situations, things are dynamic, fluid, they will always keep on changing. So I think if it is an issue of dealing with complexity, then you have to build or work on building the right culture in the team. While if it's a issue of complicated matters, then you have to work on building the capability within the team. So that's the way I would look at it.
Great way to look at it. So thank you.
Yeah, to give a concrete example, I understand what you said as Sandeep, like when you said complex is related to the culture. So if we are working in a culture where there's no trust, so then we are talking about the complex system there, which is driving that culture. And when you're talking about complicated, probably the team lacks in effective communication. So probably we are working on that specific. Yeah, is that the way you explained it?
Yeah, quite. I would say it's a good analogy to give, and I think complicated, in spite of everything, is a bit linear in the sense it is something solvable. So a maths problem is complicated if your level of proficiency in maths is lower than the level at which the problem is there. But complexity is where human behavior comes into play. Markets are so dynamic that they are changing so quickly. That complexity kicks in. So I think, that's really the way we look at it.
All right. Is there any question that still feels unanswered for you and we have not picked that up from the chat? Feel to unmute yourself and ask.
So hi, Nagesh here. I mean, when the team is newly formed, yes, definitely it may not be a team. It may be started as an, I can say, as a group. Maybe they have a common goal, but end of the day, they may not become or may not be formed as a team. So how can we, as a coach, how can we coach this group to become a team?
You start from basics of what are your values, what are your goals, what's your focus, what's your purpose to be here. Do that foundational work to bring them first make them a team. First of all, let them feel like a team. The identity piece plays a big role, and then coaching starts later.
Okay.
What are the values they share? What is the purpose? Why are they together? What do they want to accomplish in next 1 year? All those basic contracting around goal setting, purpose, values, and then start the work.
And even when you interview the stakeholders, you can ask, what is the North Star for this team? Because the team is new. So that can be a question. You can tweak the questions, like create an ideal state and then obviously work towards that, just like Jaya said.
Thank you.
Nagesh, for me, it's like, even a simple question like what would mean for you to be a team, or what would it look like, right? To get it from them, because when they are feeling like a group, what would make it like a team for them? What needs to happen?
Right. Thank you.
All
I
right.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
Rajesh.
have a, yeah, sorry.
Okay, Rajesh and then Rakesh.
Yeah,
And I think Shivani is also probably raised her hand. So I think
Okay.
we should not miss her.
Yeah, just couple of actually questions, and maybe you can just take one if you feel. One is how do individual coaching and team coaching coexist? So if you're called in for a team coaching assignment, does it coexist with individual coaching also with the same set of leaders? Do both happen at the same time? Or are there individual situations where only team coaching would be the solution, not individual coaching? So I think they're related in some ways.
Actually, as part of coaching the team coach may recognize that a one-on-one coaching session for a leader or any individual team member is very important. So as a team coach, you have to call that out to the team, to them or to the sponsor, and whether that same team coach will be engaged in one-on-one coaching is something that may be up for discussion. An ideal situation in an ideal case would be that you recommend another coach, internal or external, to work with the leader or the team member on a separate track of individual coaching. And as a team coach, you still continue to coach the team as a single entity.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
While people do it, but I would not recommend to take engagement where you are both an individual and a team coach. I think there are opportunities for conflict and complexity increase quite a bit. And especially if you're not then a coach for all the individuals in a team, then it becomes even more difficult because you tend to know some people a bit better because of your individual engagements, while the others not as much. And that starts playing a little bit on your mind in terms of biases, etc.
Yeah, and
And,
one more thing.
will
What
it-
is in? Sorry, Sudha, go on.
Yeah. So Sandeep, on that note, so it will also impact the trust, right? When
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jaya, you were saying something.
Yeah, no, so I was saying that, see, when you are picking up team coaching, the definition team coaching is development of the team, right? Now, if you pick up a lot of engagement of one-to-one, this thing, you are building an expectation in the system that I know it all, I'll solve it all. So be aware of the expectation you're setting up from the system and see if you can really fulfill that, because a lot of things are not in your hand. The system is dynamic, people are dynamic, complexity is involved, business is changing. So be aware about those things, because it's very easy to say, yeah, I'll do both the things, but then you're building expectations in the system saying, I'll fix everything. And automatically, already when you go for an individual engagement in a corporate, you know how much expectation they have because they're paying you, right? So they feel you will transform this guy. Now they're thinking you will transform the system. Think about it. Can you really do it? Nobody can do it alone, right? So just wanted you to be conscious about these things.
And out of experience, I can say that each of us who's stepping into team coaching will step into this conflict in their first 1 or 2 engagements. And I'll tell you why. Because your first team coaching engagement will happen because you have been an individual coach to one of the leadership team members, the CEO, the CXO, or depending on what team you're working in. And I think even to move from that space into a team coaching space sometimes becomes difficult. So imagine the complexity that if concurrently you're running both the team coaching and the individual coaching engagement.
All right. I think the clock is ticking, and then probably we can just take another 2 questions. I remember Shivani and Rakesh, they both are in queue. Who would like to ask first?
Thanks, Sudha. So, what I was wanting to know is more of a doubt. I mean, the entire session so far in last 1 hour now, we have spoken about the team coaching more in the context or more for the, in the background where the business or the corporate entities are involved. How about coaching, team coaching for the sports people, for the educational institutions, for the teachers? How about for the government people? How about the PSU? Because our language, what I have been hearing, in the last business corporate, CEO, no, there. I mean, this is my doubt. I want to understand. I mean, the well-informed panel, I mean, highly learned panel is here. So I would request, to clear my doubt on this.
I can take a shot at it. See, you can coach anybody in any industry, NGOs, government organizations. There is nothing that says that this is a corporate thing. Absolutely not. However, a lot of times, for example, I recently spoke to an NGO where they wanted to see if there is an engagement of coaching 6 or 7 people. If you really look deep down, the first question you need to ask is, are they a team? Do they have the same purpose, and are they working together depending on each other? If the answer is yes, of course, team coaching will apply, and you can do that with any organization, any industry, any domain. If the answer is no, maybe the answer is group coaching or one-on-one coaching. So that is, to me, that is how I look at it. If Jaya or Sandeep.
No, Shailesh, I think you bring up a very, very important point. I think one of the things that one needs to do when you are contracting, and when I'm saying contracting, probably even when the legal document about the engagement is not signed, is to make your own assessment, as Shailesh was saying, is it a group or is it a team? Because the interventions will be very different. And a lot of times, superficially, you may be told it's a team, but it may not be a team. Now, it is quite possible it is a loosely put together team, and they want it to become a more cohesive team, in which case this engagement is justified. But if it's just random people put together for the sake of having a collective engagement, I think then it's better to have group coaching rather than having team coaching. Shared purpose interdependencies are two critical things. If they don't exist, then yeah, please.
Yeah, I think the question Rakesh is asking more from the industry perspective as to why are we not talking about other sectors, right? That's primarily because, Rakesh, the adoption and the acceptance of these processes is more in corporate yet in India, while we will go to all the sectors slowly with the fundamentals that Shailesh and Sandeep explained, that it can be applied anywhere. However, right now, the stage where the industry is that the acceptance is more in corporates right now. And the understanding of coaching is more in corporates, while it is spreading to other sectors, but it just little ahead of time for other sectors because it needs investment on people development, which we all know not every industry is ready for.
Or it could be the baggage of our experience. That's the kind of engagements we worked on. It's quite possible, to be fair.
Absolutely possible. There is a question, Sudha, in the chat by Eketa, and she's asked that how do we conduct an in-person team coaching session? Any specific structure we need to follow? Yeah. So there are some frameworks. The whole team coaching engagement is generally 8 to 12 months or 6 to 8 months based on what are the goals, what are the expectations and everything. And you conduct workshops every month. And then you basically focus on themes and talk about it, whether it is in person or virtual. Process remains the same, and that's what we basically equip you in the program. And you can look at Peril model, like somebody else, I think Rupinder has posted Peril, and there are a couple of frameworks which are available. If you can go and read about them, you'll get an idea as to how do you contract, how do you start the process, how do you go ahead and continue. You have to create a map, and then that map keeps changing because of the change in the environment. I hope that answers. And yes, you can get the recording. This will be uploaded on YouTube.
Thank you, Shivani, for patiently waiting, and probably you can unmute yourself and ask this.
Thank you so much, Subha. My question is aligning to what Sandeep stopped where, I am in a situation where I have these 6 middle managers from different teams coming together, where the CEO says that it is a team. And I am evaluating it as a team or a group because it's an organizational agenda that they get more ownership and more, proactiveness in team management. But they also need to have their own career development plans, which is like an individual thing, So it is a mix of group and team. and I'm questioning and I'm having these conversations. So any insight there would be really helpful.
So, yeah, Shivani, I think you should have a discussion with the CEO. So one of the reasons that probably this would be a collective engagement is for the reasons of time, effort, money involved, let's say. So you could pick up what they want to work on and make, maybe just help him understand that from a coaching lens, how is a team different from a group? You would be able to work on the same interventions, even in a group coaching engagement.
Yeah.
But the interdependencies would be very loose between the team, between the members. And I think, and also they may not be reporting to the same leader. So if they're not reporting to the same leader, they are not really the team, essentially, because then they don't have a shared purpose, all of them together. So I think it's a matter of just explaining that subtle difference and probably moving that engagement to a group coaching engagement.
Absolutely. So what I'm understanding, they can still gain the objectives, but more as individuals in the group rather than his focus of what looks like a team, but it is actually not a team.
And one way to kind of tell this is to say that, you're talking about ownership, but maybe all the 6 people in the group don't need to work on ownership.
Absolutely.
Everybody would be at a different level. So we can get an assessment done on whatever 4 or 5 areas you have at the top of your mind. We can see who's at which level, and the engagement can a little bit focus on whatever needs to be worked on.
Thank you so much, Sandeep. That was very insightful. Yeah.
Yeah. And before we close our session, Jaya and Sandeep, it would be really good if you can also let us know if there is any systemic team coaching course that's upcoming, anything that is starting in the next few weeks or few months, which people may be of interested to join. So if you can probably briefly share something about the course.
I will leave it to Jaya. We've been discussing starting a new cohort of the program that we've been running, but I'll leave it to Jaya.
Yeah, so we have been running a program on systemic team coaching. So that was the part of the first cohort. And the program is 4 months long, wherein you have 3-hour classes every week. It's now a AATC program, which is recognized by ICF, and more information can be emailed to you if you like. It's a program that enables you with a process, tools, case studies, supervision for you to get enabled on that. I'm happy to send across the information and address any questions later as well. And sorry, it's starting on 12th July. I forgot the main thing. 12th July, we're starting. So in case anyone of you would like to have a conversation, drop me a message, or any of us actually, Sailesh, Sudha, Sandeep, we're all part of the same team.
Great. So is it time for us to say goodbye and then have the stimulations that we have taken from this experience on team coaching? And I think, as Jaya said, keep your questions coming up. Reach out to us directly. We'll be more than happy to answer if there are more questions which we couldn't answer in this time. And stay connected.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your participation.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for making it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.